link out. Um, okay, and I have my dog standing behind me because she wants to look out the window. So let's start this off with the dog being a dog. All right, so I didn't do a live yesterday. I had a lot to take. No, I don't want you licking my head. Stop it. Um, I didn't go live yesterday because I had a lot of stuff to take care of, and we were going over to my in-laws to do a sort of like a celebration of life because my father-in-law's brother passed away last week, and we went over to do something nice. We made dinner, which, if you notice the thumbnail, that was what I was making. It was a pork roast. So we did this big dinner for my father-in-law and my mother-in-law, and brought a bunch of food over, and I put on my cooking hat, I guess you could say. Um, that's something I tend to actually be one of my better skills, I would say, is cooking. I mean, you kind of, if you're really fat, you either are eating terrible food or you know how to cook. And my problem is I do both. Um, but I made a pork roast and we made homemade biscuits to do strawberry shortcakes, and I made a homemade gravy. We had rice and corn and a lot of other stuff, and it was it was nice. It was nice spending time with my father-in-law and just trying to, cheer him up a little with everything going on. And so that was how uh, besides work yesterday, that's also what I was doing, was I was getting all that ready. So I was like, I really don't have time to hop on here and start a live. And so today I'm doing that while I'm trying to take care of everything because, my daughter was sick last night, and now, got to do a bunch of her bedding because she threw up everywhere, which, there's a cold going around. I mean, I still sound a little stuffy myself, but I finally feel like I'm mostly over it, except for this headache right here, which is most likely because I'm not getting the amount of sleep I need. So maybe I'll go to bed early tonight, or maybe I'll try to catch a nap at some point today. But yeah, so I'm got myself coffee. I already drank a cup, and I got a second cup ready, and you know the dog being a dog. Okay, okay, no, 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 no. You need to go around. Go on. Get down and around. All right, well, that was not fun, but there we go. Now I can have the phone away from me a little bit better, so it's not super close to my face. Um, so the other thing was I read a little report this morning. Bob Iger, now that he's back to being the CEO of Disney, the first action he seems to have taken that I've seen was purchasing another property again. In case you didn't know, that's what he's famous for. He's constantly purchasing other people's properties and then putting them on Disney. And a lot of them have been run into the ground. I mean, Star Wars is effectively dead now. Marvel is dying. Even if people are trying to act like it isn't, it is. It can be turned around, but it's mostly about the quality of the writing. That's probably the biggest issue overall, is that the writing has been bad and it's been getting worse. A lot of these directors aren't even being allowed to go on and do their own things. They have a very tight knit script that they have to follow. That they comes from Kevin Feige, and not it's not going to keep working. You're already noticing certain things. I think I explained in an earlier live stream the whole box office system. So one of the things I explained previously was about the movie Black Widow. Black Widow lost money. It probably shouldn't have. Problem was that movie came out after Endgame. had it come out prior to Endgame, it probably actually would have been a success, even if it was a mediocre film. Um, so now I'm just trying to get the dog to sit down because I hate dogs licking well, my head, my ears. It's like, I don't like it. I don't like it. So, and then of course you had the same day streaming and in theaters, which was not the best idea, but I know a lot of people were afraid of COVID. So they, it was kind of like a catch-22 situation where you're not going to win all around. But the movie, I think, made something like 250 million, and the budget was like, I don't know, was it 150, 200 million? So it looks on paper, if you don't know how the thing works, that they made their money back. But in reality, they lost money. You see, when you buy a movie ticket, that price of the ticket, not all of that money goes to the goes to the studio. A lot of that money also goes to the theater. Now, I know that there's some sort of deal with Disney films in particular where they get a higher cut on the first couple of weeks, but I don't know the exact number. Most people say just split 50-50 to get an idea. So we'll say you have a $15 movie ticket. And maybe your area is cheaper than that. I think in my area it's 12 a ticket, but we're going to go with 15. $15 a movie ticket, and you split it in half, that's 750. So 750 goes to the studio, and 750 goes to the theater. So immediately, whatever it makes, you have to split in half. Then you also need to factor in there's also advertisement fees. So in reality, most people say in order for a movie to break even, it's at least 2.5 times its budget to 3 times. So a movie like Black Widow, we'll say budget was 150. The idea is it would need somewhere around 350 to 400 million to break even. And when it only makes, 250 million, it's lost money. So even though it lost money, you're like, okay, so then the next movie comes out, Shang-Chi, I think made like 20, 30 million, but it really was not a giant success. Anybody who says that Shang-Chi was a giant success doesn't understand the math breakdown. But it was also not a failure. That's the other thing. It was in this quasi point where it was almost a failure, but it just barely passed. So it's basically you got a C. You didn't get an A. You didn't pull off a Spider-Man No Way Home, which, that was what, $1.5 billion? And, of course, that whole deal is 75% goes to Sony and 25% goes to Disney. But pretty much all of the money put up for the movie came, I think, from Sony. So those are a couple of the things you gotta keep in mind. So now that, going back to the earlier point, Bob Iger came back. He now bought MLB. So now that's going to go up on Disney Plus with ESPN and everything else. And that's probably his idea of trying to somehow counter the massive amount of loss from the streaming services, which was over $1 billion in losses. And part of that is probably the fact that most of the shows that are originals that have been put up aren't very good. And like most of the Marvel shows, does anybody go back and rewatch them? Because the key here is you want to make a show that you can rewatch. If you don't rewatch the show, those minutes don't go up, people aren't getting new subscriptions. So most of these shows that Marvel has been putting out, people watch once and they're done. And it shows. Problem is that the writing in most of these shows are pretty terrible too. And they seem to be fairly predictable using the same tropes. And it's usually you get like 2 to 3 episodes in the beginning that seem interesting, that get you in, and then it gets really boring, and then there's a climax at the ending, which doesn't really seem all that great. And, it started with WandaVision, which was an okay show at first, and then it turned into laser beam battle at the end, and Wanda did nothing wrong, even though Wanda enslaved an entire town. and for some reason the writers didn't catch that, and she's still saying that she did the right thing in her, oh yeah, her movie, Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness, which, let's not get into that movie. um, but ultimately Disney's got to do something to turn the tide for them losing money, and they're not. Strange World is going to be a gigantic flop. Even if somehow it manages to even recoup its own money, um, which it most likely won't, it's going to be a bigger loss than Buzz Lightyear was. And I don't think people are that interested in a lot of stuff. I mean, right now, Star Wars is dead. Very few people are watching Andor. I'm not watching Andor. I actually have two Star Wars tattoos. I used to own 90 plus of the extended universe books. I had tons of comic books. I had a bunch of the figures. And over the course of Disney owning Star Wars, I don't care anymore. And I lost all love for Star Wars after the Mandalorian season 2 and that situation that happened with Gina Carano. And it's over, I saw the clips from Kenobi, and I was like, this is trash. This is absolute trash. I'd rather them not have met. Like, how hard would it have been to just do like a force vision thing where if they did have to fight each other, it was just a force vision or something rather than actually seeing each other and fighting. It's the most canon breaking thing, and they just were like, yeah, no, it'll be fine. And it's like, no, no, absolutely not. It's not fine. And now that Andor's out, it's the least watched show, and from everything I've heard, it's pretty much the best one they've put out. And why is that? Because you put out so much trash that nobody cares anymore. It's called Star Wars apathy. We are at the apathy point for most people. And I'm done. I don't want to watch any more Star Wars. I watch the original trilogy, I'll watch the prequels, but I've gotten to the point where I don't even want to read the books anymore. And, there was so much more creativity and everything in the extended universe. Yeah, sure. The first part of it, when it was not by Del Rey, I think it was Bantam. The books were pretty repetitive. Oh, the bad guys have a new super weapon. We've got to destroy it over and over and over again. But the second half, where they started to actually develop long-term series of stories, the new Jedi Order was great. I I liked Fate of the Jedi more than Legacy of the Force because I didn't like Jason going to the dark side. Even though some of that stuff did seem like it was likely to occur through, the new Jedi Order. And it's kind of sad. I know that, you know, and naming him Ben Solo in the new canon when you had Ben Skywalker in the books, and Ben Skywalker was a great character, but Ben Solo is just dollar store Jason Solo with far less interesting stuff, and it's just, I guess go back, read the Del Rey books. I'm pretty sure it's Del Rey. Read their books and check it out because the extended universe was so much better than the Disney universe. But anyways, that's it. I will talk to you guys later because I got to go do some more laundry, and I'll see you next time.